Hello there! This time I'm going to be talking to you about the Niviuk Drifter 2. If you're looking for the highest performing XC harness and competition harness without going to the fully enclosed envelope, a sealed kind of harness like the Submarine and the Genie Race and others, then the Drifter 2 is it. 2 reserves, very, very high comfort, the best aerodynamics you can have. From my testing, I think this is the highest performing, most aerodynamic harness I've ever flown or ever seen, other than if you go to the full envelope harnesses. This one is the large, that's 9.8 kilos. That's just the harness. It is a heavy harness. In some ways for me, it might sound strange, but that's part of the attraction of it. When I'm wanting to fly bigger gliders, then I want to be heavier, and rather than carrying a load of ballast, I've got a harness that's kind of more useful and more fully featured. The build quality is absolutely stunning. Second to none. It's quite amazing. The detail of absolutely every single seam and stitching and the finishing of everything it's the best I've ever seen. It's also it's really robustly made. This is a harness that's going to last really, really well. Here, looking at the reserve, containers are incredibly well sort of integrated into the harness. So it's 2 sides, 2 reserves, left and right. And the volume for the 2 smaller sizes, small and medium, I think is 6 litres for both each side. So that's really good. So you can fit a bigger reserve in there if you want. Plus, if you do have a smaller reserve, the system of integration, the way it's put in, check the videos, holds the reserve really well in place. So it's not got a problem with being too big either. It all holds it very snugly in place. The reserve handles, you can tell they're not going anywhere in terms of you're not going to have accidental deployments with this. Yeah, really well designed, very easy to get your hand on the reserve handle. The tail has an ethanol, 2 ethanol rods running up the back, and I found that it inflates very quickly, not instant, but it inflates quickly. And a real advantage it has over the envelope style harnesses is it doesn't require the pod to be completely closed up. Outlet here, there's one on each side. The air flows in here. That means you can actually, if you want, fly with the pod open, and the tail will still inflate just as well as if you had it closed. So that's a really big advantage. After takeoff, you can do it right away if you're happy the air's smooth and you've got lots of clear airspace. As I say, there's no rush because the pod doesn't need to be closed for the tail to inflate. So you get all the performance, even with the tail, the pod open. But then once you're ready, you can just fill that line and you just run your hand up and down that, and that gradually pulls it closed. The long and the short of all that is that you can get all the performance of the harness without having to zip it all up. And I think that's I feel for me that's turned out to be a real advantage of the Drifter 2 over the envelope style harnesses. Speed system, I think the Drifter 2 has got the best speed system I've ever used on any harness. It's got a asymmetric 3-step bar, and they've just done it really, really well. It's right foot first, then left foot, and then back onto your right foot, and then you can put both feet on it. It comes with Ronstand 40mm ratchet pulleys included. So anybody who knows about them knows they're very expensive, so that contributes to the harness. The combination with how they've set up the speed system, the really well designed speed bar with the asymmetric steps and the ratchet pulleys mean it's the best system I've ever used. It's so good to get my foot on and apply the speed system. Yeah, with the ratchet pulleys, it's easier to push on, but also especially easier to hold the speed system. Combined with the actual comfort, we'll get onto that next, the comfort of the harness, it's just fabulous for using the speed bar. Taking long glides on speed bar is the least effort I've ever had with any harness. The build quality is absolutely amazing. It's so well engineered. I don't actually know how the hell they make the harness like that. The seamstress that do this just must be absolutely incredible. So the back here support is second to none. It's absolutely amazing. Very, very comfortable. And support under your bottom. Everything is super, super comfortable. If you're ever going to have a harness to do really, really long flights in it, this is the harness I would fly with, without any shadow of a doubt. I've been testing both the medium and the large, because on paper, I'm between the 2 sizes, and what I've worked out is, turns out I can fly in the medium. I'm 1.82 centimetres, and about 80 kilos. You can see my build. But I'm quite long in the back. But what I found is that the large is the best size for me, and that's what works best. And I can fly in the medium, and once I'm in the air, it's totally fine. It feels fine. But just getting into the pod's a little bit on the short side for me. So I found I was struggling to get in a little bit. And so yeah, for me, the large has turned out to be the perfect size. So with the Drifter 2, what I found when I was in flight, just the whole, once you settle back into the sitting at the lay back position and get used to that very laid back position, one, I found it one of the easiest of these kind of harnesses to set up and get right, and to get the angle of dangle and the angle right. And it also felt the most comfortable and easy that way. Still, I think, I sit in a kind of relatively laid back position in pod harnesses normally, but this style of pod harnesses takes it another level and goes even flatter. And that's to get that really flat angle so that you've got you're matching your glide angle and get the best performance. It just feels very comfortable like that. What I found with, say, particularly the submarine, is when I was going into some turbulence, you have a feeling of getting tipped backwards. So with the submarine, I kept wanting to set myself up with my feet too far down for best performance, because that felt more comfortable. And it took me more getting used to then eventually get it further back and set up so that I was in that completely flat position. And I definitely noticed with that as I was going into turbulence. And also I think the submarine's a less weight shifty harness. So I was finding that it was kind of like, I felt like it was a bit more work and not as easy to manage. But I just, for some reason, I found the Drifter 2 easier. And I think it's the best harness there is without going to the envelope harnesses. In terms of the handling, for me, this is the best of the laid back harnesses. It's got really nice handling and feeling, and you have a really nice feeling control. This is the harness that I find is best for doing wingovers and things like that in these style of harnesses. So with the submarine, I'm still needing to work on my wingovers with the submarine. If you're having to really crank and bank it round on a slope to work some lift, or in a thermal and a strong punchy climb, then it's really good for that. And I found that despite the very laid back position, I wasn't having this kind of like yaw and stuff. I think that's an advantage of the long tail harnesses. They do keep you more stable to a degree. Well, just in general, if you have a huge collapse, then there's another conversation about there's more potential for twists. Again, I feel like because of the way the Drifter 2 is, it seems to have less of an issue with that. It's not built for doing acro and playing around, but if you're a pilot that likes also doing some throwing the glide around, doing some wing overs and playing around, then I think the Drifter 2 has a real advantage again there over the envelope style harnesses, which are very, very much made to be flown in that very laid back position. A really key point to say about the Drifter 2, I think for me is such a key point, is that you're getting the performance that's very close to the full envelope harnesses, but with a usability that's closer to a standard kind of full fairing pod harness. For me, this harness is like Advanced Impress 4 Plus. So the Advanced Impress 4 is still one of my favourite harnesses. I love it for cross country, and that's a really great option. 6.5 kilos, 6.6 kilos in the size medium. I'm a size medium in that, and that has the 2 reserves. And that, in some way, I find these harnesses quite comparable. It's interesting that the colour scheme is similar, but in actual how the harnesses are and everything like that, they're comparable. But I think this is kind of like if you were wanting the next level up from the Impress 4 in terms of performance and aerodynamics and that laid back position, then the Drifter 2 is it, basically. That's the next stage up. So with the Drifter 2, you've got this enclosed flight deck, which is quite similar to the submarine, the sort of second version of the submarine, the improved version. And there's this like clear perspex screen here, and inside there is a flight deck. I've zipped this up to show you what it's like, all zipped up. So yeah, I found the zip definitely much easier to do than the submarine versions 1 and 2, where you have to reach right down to your feet and pull the zip like that. Plus unzipping as well. With this, it's easier to zip it up, unzip, zip it up, unzip again. There's a cockpit part here. What I really like is that got one of these chest pockets. But I have to say the flight deck works very well. For this flight deck, the same as for the submarine with the enclosed instrument, because it's kind of in a shaded area to get it out of the sun. It's better to have an instrument like the Navitor Omni or ODN, which is which is bright and backlit, and then that you can see it really well. I think this is really good, the Drifter 2. I find it better than the Submarine for reading the instruments, even the version 2. I think all of these kind of harnesses have an extra, a sort of second flight deck, they call it, but kind of also, it can be used as a flight deck, but it's mainly an extra storage thing, or can be used as an extra place to put ballast if you want to carry some more weight. That's an island that zips on the front, very similar to the Submarine, and I think similar-ish to the G Race. And there's also another smaller ballast pocket under the seat as well there, and that's better for your centre of gravity to put extra weight there. Oh, with the large harness, they supply the harness with their different sort of foot pads. For my height, because I'm sort of at the lower end of the large and right at the top of the medium, with the large I ended up adding on the extra foot pad, but you can see I didn't actually need the full length. I actually took one of the foam bits out. So there's kind of different layers of foam. I took one of the foam bits out because I didn't need the full. It's got good storage. It's not massive, but it's got plenty of storage. Even with my extra filming equipment and that, I can get it all in there. Yes, it's on the heavy side, but actually to use, it's surprisingly easy and user-friendly. It's a real hybrid between the highest possible performance cross-country harness you can get without going to that next level of the Submarine style harness. Definitely the comfort is absolutely the best. This is the most comfortable harness I've ever sat in. Definitely this is the harness I would choose to fly for hours and hours and hours. If I was going to do that, this is the one I would choose for that. Radio, that's it for this review. See you in the next one. Bye.
Very nice.